The latest update from the National Hurricane Center has those maximum sustained winds down a little bit more, which is expected as these tropical systems make their way inland. They're cut off from their water supply of that warm water of the Gulf of Mexico. But as you see, as it's moving inland, this is very soon going to start passing from Florida into South Georgia. So we look back into just last hurricane season when we had Idalia move through with very strong winds in Valdosta. And once again, this storm going to be very close to that as we get into later on this afternoon. This is a live picture. This is actually Jacksonville Beach. So it's on the other side of the state, but they have onshore winds, and the onshore wind action, even though this is a couple of 100 miles away from the center of Debby, is creating really rough surf. You can see the pier in the background there. And we have been looking at as well some very minor storm surge levels expected as Debby keeps moving inland. We'll see those onshore winds for portions of northern Florida into Georgia and the Carolinas, creating a storm surge threat as well. Also a live look. This is in Swainsboro, Georgia, which is about a 30-minute drive west of Statesboro, with Georgia College and State University is. But you can see the rain coming down there, and these steady sheets of rain that have already been inundating parts of Florida and South Georgia have already amounted in some areas in excess of 7 to 10 inches of rain. You can see the yellow color right here, which is not far from that I-10 and I-75 kind of Lake City area. That's where we've had some rainfall totals estimated over 10 inches. And this is just over the last 24 hours alone. We also saw one little bullseye there close to the Tampa area and Sarasota area. But Debby keeps moving further inland, very close to Lake City, and this is going to keep moving northeastward and slow down its pace of movement. And as it does so, we're going to transition from talking about winds to really talking more about this inland significant rainfall and flooding threat. You can see the solid sheets of rain on what we call the dirty side of the storm, the right side of the storm, where all the moisture keeps coming off of the water, producing immense amounts of rainfall. But that's pushing up into southern Georgia, so steady sheets of rain moving in through Charleston, Savannah as well. And you notice here on the outskirts of this, the western outskirts, we're starting to see in parts of the North Georgia area a couple little outer rain bands. So we're towards Eatonton and also Butts County, a couple of little showers, but a lot of this rain activity is not going to get into all of North Georgia. We'll see a few showers, but that steady wall of steady rainfall, that is going to stay south and east of our area altogether. Tropical storm warnings now in effect throughout southeastern Georgia all the way up into the coast of the Carolinas. I'll zoom in here so you can kind of see on the map. It does not include that tropical storm warning Macon itself, but as you get into Statesboro, Vidalia, Georgia, and out to Perry, Georgia, we've got those severe, tropical storm warnings that remain in effect. Now, here's the thing about Debby that we've been talking about for several days. The steering currents with this storm. Tropical systems don't know where to go on their own. They don't have a trajectory in one location or another. They get steered by larger features in the atmosphere. Well, with Debby specifically, it's been steered by two big areas of high pressure, and this thing's going to slow down to a snail's pace. You notice here on the spaghetti models as we go through the next 24 hours, this is Tuesday morning situated over South Georgia, where all the models have the center of the storm. But watch what happens there the next couple of days. This thing just kind of meanders either off the Georgia or South Carolina coast through about Thursday time frame, and then it might get absorbed into another trough of low pressure and finally get picked up in forward speed by the end of the week, and that would take it up north, up off the coast of the Outer Banks. So that's something we're watching because models have been trying to get a handle on those other steering currents. Okay, we know Debby's going to slow down, but where exactly does it slow down? Does it slow down and stall right along the coast? Does it slow down and stall just off the coast? Is it off the coast of Georgia? Is it off the coast of the Carolinas? These are the steering features that we've been watching model differences in the next couple of days. And that's why this cone of uncertainty you'll see, it's the cone of uncertainty where the center of the storm will be. These lines, which go over 12 hours, get a lot closer together. So the storm passes through southern Georgia, southern Georgia, and then as we get into kind of Tuesday and Wednesday time frame, it's either off the coast kind of Savannah or off the coast of South Carolina, and then it kind of gets pulled back inland, and then eventually by the end of the week, this thing gets kicked up to the northeast, and finally we are done with Debby. But in the meantime, as it's slowing down down so slow, we've got a big rainfall threat coming. So let's talk about Georgia impacts, okay? Here in North Georgia, we are not going to see significant impacts. It's a little breezy the next couple of days. Some of us get a couple of showers, most of us do not. But in southern Georgia, that's where they're looking at rainfall totals in some places that could be 10 to 20 inches over the next 3 to 4 days. This is a look at the next 7 days from the Weather Prediction Center. It really means the next 3 to 4 days. So you notice this tan color right here between Charleston and Savannah area. That's a bullseye that could be over 20 inches of rainfall. In the yellow color on the map, which goes further south and all the way up through Myrtle Beach, that's where we could see an excess of 10 inches of rain coming down in just a couple of days. And then there's going to be a sharp difference between who gets 6 inches of rain and who gets next to nothing. That demarcation line, that's what models have been trying to pick up on. Where is that going to end up being? And where we really feel like that big rainfall totals are going to be is east of our area altogether. So this is model rainfall through Wednesday afternoon. Couple of showers may move through the metro like I was tracking down in Butts County and Putnam County, but where we see those colors changing into the blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, that's going to stay east of our area altogether. So we will pick up some breezy winds the next couple of days, but through Wednesday time frame, Debbie's immense amounts of rainfall look to stay south and east of the Atlanta metro area, south and east of the North Georgia area altogether. These next couple of maps, these are the flood risk maps, and these show you in that pink color between the Big Bend of Florida and southern Georgia today and into tomorrow, a high risk of flooding as we head through the next couple of days. So significant flooding possible. That's where there's a flood watch in effect. This actually runs through tomorrow evening. They just have to wait to extend it a little bit longer. But you notice the kind of northwestern edge of that is about Milledgeville. So GCSU, it doesn't quite go into Georgia Southern's down in Statesboro. I got that wrong earlier. GCSU's in Milledgeville, but that doesn't quite include our 11 live viewing area. We also have that severe weather threat with all landfalling tropical systems. We can sometimes see some little brief spin-up tornadoes, and that threat today, a level 2 threat of severe weather, stretches from Tampa into Jacksonville, up through Savannah, and into the Charleston area as well. Let's talk about the winds now. So rain will be the #1 story out of this storm. Okay. We can't put 20 inches of rain anywhere and not see significant flooding. We're talking about storm surge the next couple of days, onshore winds pushing the water up some of those waterways. Meanwhile, rain coming down onshore, and it meets in the middle, and we have a lot of flash flooding. But the winds with this storm, as it keeps moving inland, those are going to come down a little bit. So in the yellow color, that's where we have tropical storm force winds. In the orange color, there's where those tropical storm force winds are a little bit stronger, but now this thing's no longer a hurricane, so we don't expect any more hurricane force winds. You notice the wind field map. As we get into tomorrow morning, some of those tropical storm force winds still over the Savannah area. And then as this meanders, hopefully offshore, we'll lose the wind component, but we will still see the rain continuing for days upon days. Over the last hour, some of our peak wind gusts here in North Georgia have only been about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So it's been breezy outside, but the strongest winds with Tropical Storm Debby are going to stay south and east of our area altogether as well. So you notice here on the forecast map, which shows the wind gusts over the next 2 days, where we get those wind gusts over 30 miles per hour, it's mainly south and east of our area. So Debby, the flow around it goes counterclockwise. It's going to keep a northeast breeze across North Georgia through the day tomorrow, into the day tomorrow. And as we fast forward into Wednesday as well, we'll keep breezy winds around, but you see the purple colors on the map? That's over southeastern Georgia. That's where those wind gusts could still be tropical storm force strength for several days in a row as the storm is slowly crawling across southeastern Georgia. So big picture, we've got a lot of rain coming. Yes, some tropical storm force winds and some storm surge, but those major threats, those are going to be across southeastern Georgia, southern Georgia, and into the coast of the Carolinas as well. That's where the significant rainfall threat will be. This is showing you big picture, our forecast track model, where the center of Debby is and where all those rain bands are going to be. So you notice the rest of the day today, moving up the coast of Georgia. By tomorrow afternoon, kind of right over the Savannah area. Then as we get into Wednesday, we'll see if that wobbles offshore, and if that happens off of the Georgia coast or the South Carolina coast. Later in the week, this might get pulled back inland a little bit Does that happen into the Carolinas? Does that happen into Georgia? And all the timing of that, that's what we're still trying to fine tune in the models here, and hopefully they'll get a better handle on it here in the coming days. So again, Debby, a significant storm, even though it has been, quote, downgraded into a tropical storm. That's really a bad phrase to use with tropical systems, downgraded, because tropical threats come from multiple different facets. The name tropical storm versus hurricane is only designated by what's happening with those winds. But water kills more people in tropical systems than wind does, than tornadoes do. So storm surge, we've been dealing with some of that, of course, near landfall, and we will along the coast of Georgia, but that water threat is going to be well inland. Now, here in Atlanta, here in North Georgia, we've got kind of 30% rain chances for some of those outermost rain bands that may pass through some of our southeastern counties the next couple of days. But with that northeast wind, it often promotes downward motion in the atmosphere. We call it subsidence. So we don't see a lot of rain in our picture through midweek. Now, if we see Debby moving a little back inland, we might increase those rain chances for Friday, but as of right now, 20% rain chance for Friday, and into the weekend, we'll keep temperatures around average as well. The next update coming in at 5 o'clock tonight. Join Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb at 6 o'clock right after the Olympics as well for the latest on Tropical Storm Debby.